very sweet introduction. You're going to see a movie tonight. How many of you have seen this movie before? Oh man, okay. So you already know that you don't know what's going on really. I actually saw it for the first time on video last week and immediately went to Google and searched for Mulholland Drive explanation. And it seems to be that there are two basic camps. One says, well, the first half is a dream sequence and the second half is reality. And the other side says, no, the second half is a dream sequence and the first half is reality. So you get to decide for yourself. I'd just like to spend a few minutes to tell you what dreams are actually like and what they're about. And I want to start with the actual dream report that I received from a close friend of mine, Barbara. I was on the street where Stuart, her fiancé, lived, and I was trying to find his apartment because I wanted to settle on not seeing each other anymore. And I couldn't remember why we weren't seeing each other. And whenever I thought I was at his apartment, I'd be somewhere else and have to go looking for him again. And I kept wondering, whatever happened to Stuart? In fact, when she woke up from her dream, her first thought was, what happened to Stuart? And then she remembered that a week earlier, Stuart had had a coronary arrest and fell down dead in her living room. So lots of emotion to be worked out, and she was working it well. But here's a dream that alludes to it, doesn't state it, and leaves her with a dream-like sequence. The affect is there, the tension is there. It could make a good start to a movie. So, what do we see in her report? Well, it's related to current concerns. That's almost always the case for dreams. It doesn't replace the actual memory of the event. She couldn't remember what had happened. For you neurogeeks in the audience, that's because the hippocampus is basically disconnected from frontal cortex, so she can't call up actual memories from her days. And she didn't recall the memory during the dream. She couldn't say, oh, I know what happened. So these are features of dreams in common. You'll see a lot of them sort of playing out in the movie. I just want to talk a few minutes about sleep and memory. You have to know about sleep to understand memory's function. And one thing that's become very clear since the turn of the century is that our brain is constantly doing memory processing all night long. It takes no breaks at all. And I'm just going to show you a couple of quick examples. If you have people type this sequence 41324 over and over as fast and accurate as they can for 30 seconds, rest for 30 seconds, do it again, do 12 trials altogether, you get curves like this. There's a rapid improvement, there's a plateau, doesn't matter whether you train them in the morning or the evening. If you then send them away for 12 hours and bring them back, looking compared to the plateau level there, what you see is that at the evening and morning performance, they both get up to about 22, 23 sequences in 30 seconds. But what happens in the next 12 hours depends on your state. If you are sleeping in those 12 hours, you get 20% faster at performing this task. Your brain is actually acting on that memory and enhancing it. For these poor suckers who trained in the morning and showed no improvement 12 hours later, well, it turns out when they get a chance to sleep, they get better too. But this is the brain working while you sleep. Here's a very different type of memory processing that occurs during sleep. This is a great task. On each of 200 trials, subjects are shown 1, 2, or 3 of these cards and ask whether it's predicting rain or sunshine. And it might not be obvious to you at first look, but it's okay. We give you feedback on whether you were right or wrong, and we watch how you progress. So maybe on the first trial, you just see the diamonds card. Turns out to be sunny. If you're an undergraduate, you say, whatever. On the second trial, you might see these two cards together, and it turns out to be rainy. Now, most of you are doing what humans do all the time, which is search for patterns. Most of you are saying to yourself, okay, so the sun, so the diamond card is sunny, the circles and triangles are rain. I don't even remember what the fourth card is, but it's probably sunny also. And you're getting a little bit cocky. And then along comes this one and you say, I've got it. And you don't. Because it turns out that this is a probabilistic learning task. Each of the four cards has a certain probability of being associated with sun, but none of them predict it absolutely. This is a probabilistic task. And at the end of the experiment, when we ask them what's going on, no one can tell us, but they get pretty good at it. After they get these 200 trials with feedback, we give them another 100 trials with no feedback. Most people get 70 or 80% of them right. They've sort of learned the rules, but they can't enunciate them. So we train them, we test them, send them away for 12 hours, bring them back, test them with the exact same 100 trials. The ones who are trained in the morning and test in the evening, they're right where they were at the end of training. They still are remembering those rules, even if they can't enunciate them. They're getting 70 or 80% right, but they're no better than they were in the morning. Those who were trained in the evening are 10% more accurate the next morning. Their brain has taken all that information from those 200 trials and processed them in a way that lets them perform better. It's not unfair to say that these people in the morning have a better understanding of how the world works than they did when they went to bed the night before. And that's a pretty impressive claim, and I think we've got the data to support it. Well, there's also the question of dreams. And Aaron Walmsley, who was a postdoc of mine, Matt Tucker, another postdoc, did this wonderful experiment. They trained people to navigate on this computer screen through a three-dimensional maze. They were dropped in it in various places and told, go find the exit and learn the layout of the maze. So they trained them up on this and then let them go to sleep. In this case, it's a nap study, so it's for 90 minutes. And then when they woke up, they would test them again, dropping them in various places, seeing how long it takes them to get to the exit. But she also woke them up and collected dream reports along the way. She collected them right at sleep onset as they were just falling asleep, during the middle of the nap when they were in non-REM sleep as opposed to rapid eye movement, REM sleep. And then she would get another final report from them when they woke up at the end of the 90 minutes, which might be from REM, might be from non-REM. It's about 50-50 in the population. So she asked, what effect did dreaming about this have on their performance afterwards? She measured the change in performance by seeing how long it took them to get to the exits and how far they wandered to get to the exits. And for those people who didn't dream about it or didn't report it in any of the 4 awakenings that were carried out to collect reports, there's no improvement at all. But those people who reported at least one dream report that involved the maze were incredibly faster and shorter times to get to the exit. That's 150 seconds. That's 2.5 minutes faster to get to the exit. And she was excited because she had these dream reports. This is better than a magnetic resonance image of the brain because she knew exactly what the brain was thinking about as it was processing this information. She got reports like, I can see the maze, and I think if we could swim above it, we could see everything. Okay. I was like standing in the middle of a maze, waiting for my friend to find me. And I was waiting and waiting, and she just kept going around and around, calling my name. You might be getting the general tone here. We were just like walking through it, but it was like a formal maze, one of those outdoor ones made out of hedges and bushes. Well, thanks for sharing. But But these reports, these dreamed images, are not going to help them perform better. So whatever the function of these dreams might be, it can't be to rehearse and practice and improve on the task, even though these are the people who in fact did get better. And it seems to beg the question of what these dreams are for. One hint of that came from a study done by a couple of MIT students on what they called dream hacking. They would have subjects come in, taken 90-minute nap, and they would wake them up periodically to get dream reports. The gimmick was that they were asked, as you're falling asleep, think about a tree. That was the only instruction, just think about a tree. And then 1 to 5 minutes after their sleep onset, they'd be woken up and asked to report whatever dreams they might be having at the time. And the finding that truly startled me, and should startle you, is that 72% of the dreams incorporated dreams into the story. 3/4 of the dreams people had, after simply thinking about a tedious, uninteresting topic before they fell asleep, 3/4 of the time that topic was incorporated into their dreams. So think about that. We can get incorporation of almost anything into someone's dream if we just tell them to think about it before they fall asleep. The other finding was increased creativity. So after this experimental period where they fell asleep, they were woken up, they collected reports, back to sleep 3 or 4 times in 90 minutes. They were then asked to complete 3 tests of creativity. These are standard tests. Completion a story test, creative story test, write a 1-page creative story about a tree. The alternate use task, think of and write down all the unusual uses you can think of for a tree. Someone wrote down a toothpick for a giant. And then the verb generation task is, we'll give you a series of words. Tell us the first verb that comes to mind after you hear tree, limb, flower, root. And when they did this, on all 3 of these tasks, compared to another group of subjects who were just told, pay attention to your thoughts as you fall asleep, on all 3 tasks, they were more creative. So having these dreams as you're falling asleep shifts the brain into a more creative state where it can think about and write and talk about those dream contents more creatively. But there's more than that going on, and blanking on her name who introduced me, that's a no-no. With my friend Tony Zadra, we've written a book, When Brains Dream, which introduces this model of dreaming called Next Up, which stands for Network Exploration to Understand Possibilities. And we think this is an exciting new model of how dreaming actually functions. So the basic story is dreams are related to memories of recent waking occurrence, concerns. I think you've all noticed this. But they don't just replay these memories, like when you remember them the next day. Instead, they search for, discover, and then activate memories that are related, often only weakly, to these waking events. So it's going through your memory banks and saying what's related to it and how strongly is it related. And dreams then explore the usefulness of these newly identified associations. You're struggling with some problem during the day. Maybe it's a fight you had with a partner, and you dream about a fight you had with your mother, or a good time that you had with your partner. And your brain connects these sort of remote associations, connects them to the concern, so that when you think about the problem again in the morning, you have these other ideas that might pop into your mind. I had a dream. I was driving in Cambridge and someone runs a stop sign. You know that phenomenon? And you got to weave into oncoming traffic to avoid being hit, and nobody's coming, so it's fine. And you go home, and I tell my wife, Debbie, I'm taking that job offer from Iowa. But that night I have a dream. And in the dream, I'm at an amusement park with my son, Adam, and we're on the bumper cars. And he's driving it, and he's crashing us into everybody, and everybody's crashing into us. And I'm thinking, this is strange. I usually enjoy bumper cars, but this time I'm really not enjoying it. And when I wake up, I sort of laugh and say, oh, okay, I just dreamt about that near accident from yesterday. And is it useful? Is it helpful? I'm not sure, but you can imagine that my brain is now aware that cars can hit you, and it's not life-threatening. In fact, if the car had hit me, I would have had a big dent in the side of my car, might have thrown my back out as well, but afterwards I felt like I just averted death. And this association, this really remote association to bumper cars, sort of gave me a perspective on it that I wouldn't otherwise have had. So what our brain does is it finds these remote associates, being in bumper cars, and then it weaves them into a dream, an emotional narrative with you, the dreamer, as the main character. Now, most sleep-dependent processing, like the two examples I gave earlier, involve the brain looking at information it has and trying to sort of find the solution to how to do it faster or how to extract the pattern. But dreaming, in a classic case of divergent creativity, does sort of the opposite. It's sort of starting with a memory and then looking for possible solutions. It's sort of exploring the space of all memories to find, well, what might be related, what might be useful. And this is the function of dreaming. It's network exploration to understand, to find and understand possibilities. It's not looking for the right answer, it's looking for a possible answer. And as you dream, if the calculations of the brain are that this is a useful connection, it will actually strengthen at a cellular level the connections between yesterday's incident of concern and the memory in the dream, so that tomorrow morning, when you wake up and you go back to thinking about the problem, do I really want to take that job in Iowa? I don't think so. You've got this added ammunition. You have this added insight. You don't even have to remember the dream. It happens during the dream itself. And whether you remember it or not, that's just sort of a bonus if you do. So if I hadn't woken up from it and remembered it, I might have still said, you know, this is like bumper cars. It's not so crazy. And I wouldn't know why. So that's what the brain is trying to do when you dream. You can try to think of this movie in that context, and I guarantee you it won't help you at all, because dreams are very personal and they're very strange, and we often don't see. We often wake up with a dream and don't even know what it was supposed to be connected to. Good luck with this. But when we think about what we've learned about sleep and dreams, you can come to realize that sleep and dreaming carry out what may well be the most sophisticated function that the human brain performs, the building of a model of ourselves and of our world that provides clues to the course of our future, and by shaping our autobiographical memory, which is just those memories of things that have occurred in your life, it creates the very meaning within your life. Thank you.